spiritual, which simply means that it comes from the Spirit of God. And you don't really see an ungenerated, unredeemed, ungodly person who really sees God's law from that particular perspective. They don't see it as being spiritual. They see it as being condemning, you see. But for us who are trying to become more spiritual, the law brings us to where we, quote unquote, need to be. Amen. And then he goes on a little further and he says that I am what? He says, but I am carnal, sold under sin. Now, this is the interesting part. Now, another word for carnal could be what? Fleshly. Okay? So if you had to reword it, it says, but I am fleshly. Right? Which means that I have fleshly tendency. Now, we have to understand, you're not in the flesh. Because in chapter 6, you've been what? You've been set free from being in the flesh. But there's some residual things that hang around after you've been saved. You know, it's kind of like being set from slavery. There's still some mentality that you have to deal with. And so what he's saying is that you're not in the flesh, but you're what? You're fleshly. Does that make a little sense? I mean, if it doesn't, then you're struggling with what's going on in your spiritual world. You see, but he's saying that you're fleshly in the way that it takes place. And I mean, can a Christian be carnal?
No.
Can a Christian be fleshly? Yes, he can. If you look at 1 Corinthians 3:1, he makes it very plain. He says, and I, brethren, could not speak unto you as unto spiritual, but as unto carnal, even as unto babes in Christ. You see, which means a babe doesn't really see the full implication of his sin, but even though he's still a babe, he's still in the family, but there's some things that he has to get off of him in order to be more mature in his Christian walk. You see, now what's interesting about this is that a lot of us want to blame our current condition on something like this. You've been saved 20 years and you still consider yourself to be a babe in Christ. Now that doesn't work. I mean, if a baby doesn't grow, that means the baby died. You see, and if God has given you birth, it's He who sustains you in your what? In your birth. You can't be a Christian one day and then die and then be reborn again and then die and then be reborn again. I mean, which means you can't lose your salvation. That's what I'm really trying to say. But I want to put it in a different term so you can understand it. But here he's saying that you're carnal because you're a babe in what you understand. Now, I mean, we understand that, right? I mean, a child, I mean, they boo on themselves. They drop food on themselves. They fall, they trip, they slobber. They do all the things that you don't do as an adult, right? And so it's the same way spiritually. We have issues when we're babes in Christ. But as we grow and we eat what? The spiritual food, we become strong. And now we become to be what? Teens, and we become to be young adults in the ministry. And then we become elders in the faith, you see. And then we begin to lead others. So there is an aspect of carnality or fleshliness when it comes to this. But verse 3 of that same chapter, 1 Corinthians says, for you are yet carnal, for whereas there is among you envy, strife, and you are not carnal and walk as men. So he says, you know what? The behaviors and the attitudes that we have can determine if you're carnal or not. Are you still creating strife within the body? Are you still gossiping and talking about people and doing all these different things within the body? Because if so, that means you're still what? Fleshly. Amen. You're still what? Carnal. So, but just remember though, but you're not in the what? The flesh. You got to see the distinction of being in and being fleshly. So that's why we always say that when you die, you immediately go to heaven. Because the only thing that's keeping you what? Temptation or in this sinning is what? Is the flesh. So think about it. Your body or your soul is already fitted for heaven right now. Amen. Your soul is already fitted for heaven right now. The only thing that's stopping you from getting there is the flesh. And that flesh is the thing that continues to what? Bring temptation before you. But it doesn't mean you have to give in to it. But it presents itself before you. I think you get through that in 5 and 6. So he makes it very plain that he's carnal. And then not just that, but he's also what? Sold under sin. Which means that there's a heavy burden underneath him in which there's a sin principle and there's a reality that he sees all the time.
Oh, yeah.
And so that's very critical because we all, what? Are sold under sin to a specific degree or another. So can a Christian lament like this? Can a Christian cry like that? Yeah. I'm fleshly. I'm sold under sin. You know, think about Isaiah chapter 6. Remember Isaiah goes into the temple of the Lord, and when he stands in God's presence, he really sees who he is. Now, I don't know about you. I mean, we would like to have been Isaiah, quote unquote, right? Because he was spiritual, he was a prophet, he was connected to God. But anytime you take the top Christian and put him in God's presence, he looked like what? He looked like he's flunking, right? I mean, Christ says F, right? But he says the same thing. He says, curses me, woe is unto me, for I'm a man with what? Unclean lips. So here, the Apostle Paul understands that the maturity is not about what you do on the outside. It's not about the external aspect of your relationship, but it's about an internal aspect. It's about a heart relationship with what? With the Father. You see? And that's why when we looked at it last week, Paul counts it all rubbish based on the things that he achieved, what? Legalistically. Does that make sense? And so we have to understand that we're all in the same situation. So in every Christian there's going to be what? An aspect of conflict.
Yes, Lord.
Right? And that's our condition. What's our condition? We're fleshly and we're sold under sin. Okay? But let's go to the second part. What's the proof? You know, it's okay to say that, but where's the proof? Well, Paul's going to give us the proof in verse 15. It says, for what I am doing, I do not understand. I don't. That reminds me of my kids sometimes. What you doing? I don't know. I don't know what I'm doing. But it says, I don't understand for what I will to do. For what I will, what I desire, what I want to do, that I do not practice. But what I hate, that is what I what? I do. What? There's some stuff I'm trying to do that I don't do. I hate it, but the stuff I want to do, I don't do it. Now, let me just make this very clear. It's not saying that, you know, God has called you to be respectful or gentle to a person and all of a sudden you say, I can't do that. What he's saying is when I look at the totality of God's law, I see that there's a struggle meeting what? The standard that God has set before us, right? So it's not the small things, you know, I can't stop gambling, or I can't stop gossiping, or I can't stop doing these different things. That's not what he's talking about. He's saying when I line myself up to this standard in which God has set, I find myself what? Not able to do it. So don't use this as an excuse on why you still do what you do. Amen. This is not the passage that he's trying. He's not saying, well, since we know you can't do it, just keep on what? Doing it. No, that's not what he's saying. He's saying that because remember he's a maturing Christian, means he's always growing, he's becoming sanctified, drawing close to the Lord. So there's many things that he's already what? Overcame in his spiritual walk. But he's saying that when I look at all 10 of them put together, it's just hard. Yes, Lord. I can pick apart one by one. I can achieve them slowly but surely, you know, in God's strength. And so that's what he's talking about here. So when you read this, don't jump to the idea that he's making an excuse for the reason why he sins. And so what we see is Paul being frustrated. I don't know about you. A lot of my days are days of frustration. And you might not see them. You might not even know them because it's not with you. It's with me and the Lord. It's like the Lord is telling me to do something. I disobeyed. I'm like, Lord, I disobeyed last time you asked me to do that. And the last time I disobeyed. And I'm just frustrated because I want to do it, but there's something in me that prevents me from doing it. You see, that's the conflict that we deal with as a mature believer. If you're not having that conflict, either you're not saved or you're not mature. You see? Now, I'm not saying that you're not getting there, but the conflict should be getting greater with your spiritual growth. But not only is the conflict becoming greater, God's grace is becoming more sufficient. Because you don't want you walk around with your head down like, because really when you think about Paul, this is the only place you see Paul lamenting or crying about this situation. You see what I'm saying? You don't see him crying all throughout the scripture. Most of the time, he's encouraging brothers to do what's right. He's establishing the church. He's teaching them. But here you get a glimpse of him in his heart's desire to want to obey God in the way that he wants to, and he just struggles with it. You see? So, I mean, it's no excuse or no reason for us to be walking around like that, because what? God's grace is sufficient in all specific situations. And so you know that kind of frustration, don't you? I mean, no sooner than you do something right, you know, someone come pat you on the back and pride overrules, right? You think about it, I mean, so many times sometimes I'll be finished preaching the sermon, I'll be like, ooh, thank you, Lord. Someone come by and say, man, you sure did that. And I'm like, ooh, amen. You know, my pride just started jumping around, you see? And so now, you get your hilltop experience and your valley moment all at the same time sometimes. We're not careful about how we look at these things. And so the proof is there. He says, oh, wretched man, how do I get rid of what? This conflict. And it's not that evil wins all the time. It's just that what? He has a high standard because of God's law. Amen. Let me just say this. The road to spirituality is paved with a sense of your own wretchedness. If you want to, create a spiritual path, it has to be laid with your wretchedness. You see, because that's why you draw closer to the Lord. You see, so your sin drives you to the Lord. He restores you in order to what? Grow you. And then there's another what? Temptation of the failure, and he restores you and he grows you. And so therefore, if it's like pavement, you're putting one stone before the other, but what's happening? You're moving forward in the direction of what? Of his son. You see? So it is very interesting on how this whole thing works. So it's not an idea of my salvation being secured. That was done on the day of what? Of my regeneration. That's not the idea. The sin that we struggle with now is just to mature us in our Christian walk. I mean, if I never got on a bike and fell off, I probably wouldn't know how to ride it, right? I mean, the first time you rode a bike, did you fall? But that made you be a little more careful the next time you got on, right? And that's all it's about. So it's not about, am I going to get to where God wants me to be? It's about, I need you to mature in your faith so that others can see what I'm doing in you. Does that make sense? I mean, we remember God didn't save you just to get to heaven. He saved you so that you can be a living demonstration of what his power looks like in people. You see, that's the problem that we struggle with probably today, is that we have all these churches, but we have people with no power. And I ain't talking about power to bring down rain from heaven. I'm talking about the power to live a Christian life every day. That takes some power. We can try to raise a person from the dead. I can make you grow a leg. I can't, but I'm saying, but if we can do the healing thing, all that would be nice. But the greatest power that is demonstrated is when you can live a godly life every day of the week. That's what real power is, right? You might get excited and do something for a moment, but every day, day in and day out, God's power is demonstrated in your life when you live it out in a way that what brings him glory. You see? And so that's why we're in trouble. Because we have churches on every corner, but there's no power in the church. And I don't mean the power in me getting charismatic or me getting excited or us being here crying and running around the church. That's not power, that's emotions. The power is when you by yourself and there's a temptation that you overcome it through God. That's the power that you're looking for. You ain't looking for no power here on Sunday when everybody around you. That's easy almost, right? But it's when you by yourself and no one is there to help you that you need what? The power. And that's what God is trying to give us. But we're so interested in temporary power or something that looks like power that all we want to do is get excited on Sunday. But God says, if you want the real power, it's going to take what? It's going to take some things. I mean, Paul didn't become mature just by what? Coming to church on Sunday. I mean, he spent some time naked, clothed, in jail, shipwrecked, hungry, not fed. I mean, he went through some things where he had to what? Put the faith of God on the line. He demonstrated himself to be faithful every time. You see, so that's where we at. So it's the whole point that we pave our own road with the things that we go through. And so there's a lot of Christians who aren't at that point. And the reason why is because their comprehension of God's law is very thin.
Amen.
You know, they just think as long as I ain't in the club, smoking cigarettes and drinking beer, I'm cool.
Yes.
That's it. I mean, you know, I work at TSU, and so if I say, you know, you're a Christian, I don't go to the club, I don't drink, and I ain't having sex. And other than that, everything good. But we know that's just what the surface stuff. That stuff that, you ain't got to be a believer to deal with that. That's for everyone. But God is saying, what about the stuff that's inside?
Yeah.
Stuff that no one else sees. You know, are you dealing with that, or are you just trying to make sure folks don't see you do nothing wrong? You're living this life externally for people to say, well, he sure look holy, or she so holy, you know. But the problem and the conflict comes in when you're dealing with the man on the inside. Oh, that's the issue. So we see the condition, right? Paul knows that he's under sin and he's in that situation. We see the proof because he tells us clearly that he wants to do some things, but he just can't get it done, right? So let's look at the source. Why is this happening? You know, I mean, don't you want to know that? If you're in the same condition as Paul, don't you want to know why you struggling? Why you having conflict? Why you frustrated about, you know, not being able to live out God's law the way he desires for it to be lived out? Look at verse 16 and we'll go through there. It says this. Now, I spent a lot of time just trying to understand this verse. And I had to go to a children's Bible to really get to understand it. That's crazy. I went to the International Children's Bible to get a better understanding of this verse. Because I kept on reading, I was like, I went to NASB, I went to New King James, I went to NIV, and I said, let me just go and check the kids. I got to break it down real simple so that even a child can understand it. But let's read it in the King James first, and then we'll look at it from a different perspective. Verse 16 says, if then I do what I will not to do, okay, I agree with the law that it is good. Man, that just threw me off for a long time. I'm going to read it again. If then I do what I will, desire, want, I will, wait, okay, see, it's even hard to read. If then I do what I will not to do, I agree with the law that is good. So he's basically saying, on one hand, what I don't do, what the law says I ought to do, it shows that the law is good.
Yeah.
But let me tell you what I got out the kids' Bible. It says, it's good because it creates a desire in me to want to obey. Although I fall short, it guides me to what? To doing what's good. So the reason why, and that's not the exact translation, but it's just the idea that when you look at that, it's saying that when I don't do it, it lets me know that the law is good because I didn't achieve it. I'm striving to do it, which means that the law is good. I don't know if y'all got that.
We got it.
Okay, so let me just read what I got written down. It says, I mean, it's the law's fault because I want to do the law. Where you say, what's making you want to do the law, right? It's the new creation, the divine nature that's in you. And so the new part of me, it really longs to do the law. It really wants to do what's right. So I affirm the law is good because the good part of me wants to do the law. See, we want to have a Bible study just on that. But the idea is that it's good because it shows me who I truly am, that I desire something that at one time I didn't desire at all. And so therefore it prompts me to move in that particular direction. Let's move on to verse 17 if we can. Verse 17 says this, and this is still under the source. If it isn't the law that's bad, if the law's not the problem, and look what it says, but now it is no longer I who do it, but sin that dwells what? In me. So listen carefully because you don't want to miss the whole point. The mature Christian, in the deepest part, wants to what? Do God's will. And so it's the law is not the problem, it's the sinfulness of men that what? That have the issue. So it's the humanness, the sin that still what lingers around that creates the issue in the individual. And that's important because what it does, it lets you know that you're still responsible for your sin.
Amen.
Okay, is that important to know? That you're still responsible for your sin? Because if not, we'll say, well, if it's not me, if it's the old I, then guess what? I'm just going to continue to do it. And God understands because that's the way he made it. No, you're still responsible for what the sin that you commit in this particular situation. So let's look at the verse. It's interesting because it says this. But now it is no longer I who do it. Now, let me just clarify.